Often, we get into ruts when sex has felt more like work than play. Sometimes being too fixated on an outcome that you hope to get from sex, such as orgasms or conceiving a child, or making sex really about feeding another person's ego, really makes sex feel more like work than play. Welcome to the Get Your Marriage On podcast. I'm your host, Dan Purcell, a Christian marriage and intimacy expert and coach. I'm on a mission to help couples have the best sex and most emotionally intimate marriages possible. Our episodes cover topics you've always wondered about and are packed with practical advice designed to help you take your marriage to the next level. Everyone, welcome to this episode of Get Your Marriage On. First of all, I've opened enrollment for the next cohort for our men's coaching program. This is for men in otherwise happy relationships, but wish things were better in the intimacy department. Enrollment ends Sunday, November 5th, and you can find more details on the website under Work With Me. Today, I want to talk to you about something that hopefully you can relate to. I want to talk about what to do when you want to have sex, but you don't really feel in the mood for it yet. Although it would be nice to get in the mood, you know that it's going to take a lot of energy and time and effort to get in the mood. So it's just tempting just to postpone sexy time to another time when you'll have more energy. And when you think about scheduling sex, it feels more like one more thing you've just added to your to-do list than something you're really looking forward to. So there it goes again. Sex feels more like work than it feels like play, and it gets put on the back burner again. I met Dave my freshman year of college. We were both on the debate team, so we spent a lot of time together preparing for and traveling to our debate tournaments. And we had a lot in common. We were creative, we were both a bit nerdy, we were both funny, and super interested in girls, and double dating sounded like a lot of fun. So we combined our strengths and decided to take the art of dating to new heights. We would scheme and plan elaborate creative dates for weeks, gathering supplies and setting up our secret surprises. I got a thrill out of impressing my date with something that took more effort than just a dinner and a movie. Some of our dates were pirate-themed, others were a spoof on the Disney movie Cool Runnings and bobsledding. We planned other dates around themes of like being bigger than life. We pulled off some pretty incredible Winter Olympics-inspired dates that had all of us laughing so hard our sides hurt for days. We could also be super romantic. Well, I guess as romantic as an 18-year-old could be. But one thing that was true in all of our dates was they had an element of what I'd call relaxed playfulness. The relaxed playfulness invited the girls I liked to relax and be herself too, without pretense, without pressure, and so we got to know each other a lot better that way. And there was no pressure to perform or expectation of a particular outcome from our dates, other than just to have fun. Fast forward years into my marriage, when things became so routine, we were in a rut. I had forgotten about that romantic, relaxed playfulness with how I approached sex. At that time, sex sometimes felt more like work than play. Do you identify with this pattern? Because I work with many couples in my coaching program that struggle saying that sex feels mediocre or it's fine, it's okay, but it's just not great. It's missing that spark again. I've been there. My wife and I learned again how to make sex play and not work, along with other things. In fact, that's what got us out of our rut and has taken our relationship to new levels that we didn't think was even possible. And that's also the genesis of Get Your Marriage On, why we do this podcast, provide our apps, do our retreats, and do this really important work. It feels like a ministry to us. One of my colleagues that does coaching for couples with me told me about a couple where in this relationship, sex had really turned into work and not play, and it's been that way for many years. And it started so small. It started with trying to achieve a particular outcome. It was for her to have more pleasure in sex, to have an orgasm. To make things more complicated, he started struggling to last long enough, bringing an often premature end to an otherwise sexy evening, which left them both really frustrated. Sex became frustrating and disappointing. They then avoided sex for a while, and the anxiety and avoidance just added to the pressure to perform for the next time when they did finally have sex again, further exacerbating the frustration and disappointment, leading to more avoidance, and then avoiding more caused more pressure to perform when they did finally come together, and you can see how this cycle continued round and round. It's really difficult for men to maintain an erection when they feel anxious and pressured to perform, and when they feel responsible for their partner's outcome, their pleasure in sex. It's also difficult for women to get aroused and experience orgasm when they feel broken, anxious, and pressured too, even if that pressure comes from themselves and not from their spouse. They still wanted to have sex though, but the sex they were having kind of settled to the point where the intent to have sex is really to check the box. It wasn't about passion or fun or play, because even the thought of a weekend getaway together was unnerving, because it would mean they would have to have sex, it'd be expected, and they'd relive their disappointments again. It was like a reminder of their failures. So they stopped going away even on weekends together. And sex then took on new meanings. It was just a representation of their inadequacy and reminders of how broken they felt. So, in these coaching sessions, it's become obvious that for this couple, sex feels like work and not play. It feels more like doing than being. When they do have sex, it's fraught with anxiety that this time needs to be different than the last time, and so on. You can't really relax into that, have that, relaxed playfulness in it. Perhaps you can relate to this couple to one degree or another. The good news is that there is hope. There's hope for this couple. There's hope for you. You don't have to stay this way for long. You just need to remember how to play again. I briefly want to talk about why foreplay is so important. In episode 89, titled Foreplay All Day, I talked about foreplay. When most people think of foreplay, they think of acts or things to do, such as teasing, deep kissing, cuddling, intimate talk or dirty talk, wearing sexy outfits, and all sorts of arousing and pleasurable touch, such as fingering, oral sex, using sex toys, and so on. Foreplay, then, are things that you do that lead up to sexual intercourse. That's what people think. However, foreplay can be defined more broadly as anything you do to build and maintain an intimate connection with your spouse. Foreplay begins the moment your last sexual encounter ends. 90% of good foreplay is done outside of the bedroom. Foreplay is great for sex for at least two reasons. It helps with your emotional and your physical connection. Today, I want to emphasize the importance of play in foreplay. I want to invite you to awaken your inner child in your sexual relationship. That curious, relaxed, open-minded, and open-hearted approach to fun that opens the gateway to deeper physical and emotional connection. There are many reasons why couples struggle with being more playful and relaxed in and out of the bedroom. So here are 4 possible reasons why. You might be able to relate to one or some of these. The first reason why you might struggle with play in foreplay could be just simply a lack of good sex education. The model of script of sex that many of us have been handed is overly male-centric or revolves a lot around intercourse as the main event. It's a problem when men and women think that it should be as easy as whipping it out and putting it in without giving foreplay or seduction much thought. They haven't yet had the sexual education around how essential foreplay is in the relationship. A second reason why couples may struggle with putting play in foreplay is that for some couples, they view foreplay as another form of work. They've missed the mark in this. They view traditional foreplay activities as like rungs on a ladder, things you have to do first in order to reach the goal of intercourse. Foreplay is then just part of the script. Touch here, caress there, rub like this for a while, and then we'll finally get to where we really want to get. They really miss out on the play of foreplay. A third reason why couples struggle to put the play in foreplay is that couples are living life and their marriages out of balance, where life just feels like all work and very little room for play. They work too much, get too little sleep, and run their life from one crisis to the next. Life feels heavy and a big chore. It's like forgetting how you used to play and imagine make-believe as a child now that you're an adult. And instead, you spend your creative energies worrying about what's wrong instead. And yes, life offers you many things to worry about. It's indeed full of difficulty and challenges. It's not all butterflies and rainbows. But if life feels like a constant grind to you, it could indicate that you're a little out of balance and should reevaluate your priorities and lifestyle. As it says in Scripture, men are that they might have joy. I recognize that there are some cases where depression or mental illness may be involved here, And if that's the case, I recommend getting professional help to help you get on the path of healing. And the last reason why couples struggle to put play in foreplay is that being playful, which invites intimacy, is anxious and exposing. And many people are still learning how to develop more openness and vulnerability with their spouse. Their tendency is to avoid or shut down anything that might challenge them or ask them to be emotionally or physically naked with their spouse. This includes even conversations about sex. This aversion to closeness keeps them from enjoying what could be theirs. They could learn to develop this capacity, though. The path to it is more honesty and open-hearted sharing about intimacy. And it includes learning how to calm down, relax, and just really grow your capacity to handle more intimacy, little by little, line upon line in the relationship. Now that we talked about 4 reasons why couples struggle with being playful in foreplay, now let's talk about what you can do to reawaken your playful instincts in the bedroom. And I want you to invite more playfulness into your intimate encounters and level up your foreplay. I'm now going to share with you 7 ideas that I came up with for this podcast episode. Some of these ideas are just outright goofy, and I'm sure you can come up with more yourself. But remember that if you plan on building an exciting, intimate marriage that lasts a lifetime, it's going to require you to look at sex more like play than work. It's also going to require healthy doses of newness injected into your marriage regularly. We all go through seasons, but the best way to keep your sex life out of a rut is to keep things fresh and new and fun. Some of the suggestions below are going to take some effort to prepare. I recognize that. But even the preparation can be part of the fun if you look at it that way, because, hey, it builds anticipation. Suggestion number 1, exercise. My first suggestion is to make sex more like play and less like work is to add exercise to part of your playtime. There was a research study done where the researchers divided participants into 2 groups. In the first group, they showed photographs of people of the opposite sex, and they had participants rate how attractive the people were in the photos. In the second group, they showed the same photographs of people and asked the participants to rate the attractiveness of the people in the photos. But first, they had the participants do some physical exercise for 15 minutes, like jogging a lap around the college campus. What was interesting is the second group that exercised first consistently rated higher levels of attraction to the people in the photos compared to the first group that didn't exercise first. Perhaps exercise increases your physical and emotional arousal. Perhaps it's related to releasing adrenaline or other feel-good chemicals that come with exercise. Perhaps just exercise puts you in a better mood. So if you want to feel more playful in the bedroom, try something physically active that you both enjoy. Get your heart pumping. One of our favorites is kickboxing, yoga, or some other workout where you can follow along with the video. And YouTube is a great and easy source and free for a lot of this kind of material. You can even get active in the privacy of your bedroom, and bonus points if you're doing it naked. Here's another creative and fun idea to add some exercise to sexy time. My friends told me about sock wrestling. You both get completely undressed, except you wear one sock on one foot. Then, you chase and wrestle each other around the room or the house to see who can get the sock off the other person first. The winner gets to pick the first sex position. The point here is to have some fun adult play, and exercise and getting your body moving is a great way to be playful. Number 2, getting wet. There's something really playful about water. It can be really super sexy too. Bubble baths can be really relaxing and fun. What about preparing a bubble bath with your spouse and bring along your favorite waterproof sex toys? Or bring a romance book or conversation starters or other material that you both enjoy that gets your minds engaged and in the mood. Some couples find sex in the shower to be super playful and erotic. These couples keep a bottle of silicone lube in the shower along with their bottles of shampoo, conditioner, and body wash. Silicone-based lube is waterproof, so it stays slick even underwater. So it's great for spontaneous shower fun. If you want more ideas on how to make sex fun in the shower, check out the tutorial that we have on our website and in the Intimately Us app. This next idea takes a little more preparation, but it really is worth trying at least once. What we call this is the slip and slide date. What you do is you get a plastic sheet, such as an inexpensive vinyl shower curtain, and you lay it on the bed. Then you get mineral oil or baby oil or some other massage oil, and you smother it all over your bodies, or you pour it on the plastic sheet that's on the bed. And then you get on the bed and enjoy a slippery sliding adventure together. We posted a tutorial on how to prepare this date on our Instagram account in our Reels if you want a detailed description. The point here is to have some adult play, and water and getting wet is a great way to be playful. Number 3, blindfolds. Another way to easily enhance play is to use a blindfold. There's something about having your eyes covered that awakens your sense of touch and hearing. It also adds a sense of anticipation, which can be fuel for erotic play too. You can make a blindfold out of a necktie, a scarf, or even a sleeping mask. You can even buy an inexpensive, sexy satin blindfold too if you want something reserved just for intimate playtime. One way to play with blindfolds is to flip a coin and see who gets to wear the blindfold first. You then set a timer for a few minutes, and the person not wearing the blindfold massages, caresses, teases, and awakens the body of the blindfolded person. When the timer goes off, you switch roles. You can also incorporate play by hiding something on your body, and then blindfold your spouse and see if they can find it. And what you hide can be interesting. It can be like perfume or cologne. My friend Tammy Camp, who was a guest on our podcast about a month ago, told me about a date night where she hid small bits of scotch tape on parts of her body and challenged her husband, who was blindfolded, to find all the places where she hid the scotch tape. If you have the whole house to yourself, you can have fun by blindfolding your spouse and leading them by the hand out of the bedroom to different parts of the house to make love too. The point here is to have some fun adult play, and blindfolds are an easy way to get playful. Number 4, food. Using food in the bedroom can make for some fun, sexy memories. Imagine showering and getting your bodies clean first, and then taking chocolate syrup or honey and drizzling it on parts of your spouse's body, and then taking your time to lick it off. Doesn't that sound super fun and yummy? You can also use a can of whipping cream for the same effect. One fun date night in the Intimately Us app is called Desserts on Me. What you do is you cut up strawberries, bananas, chocolate bits, whipping cream, small cookies, nuts, or anything else that you enjoy eating. But you put those items on your body first and invite your spouse to eat them off you. It can get messy, but hey, isn't being messy part of sex anyway? Isn't life messy also? And isn't getting messy part of the fun? And just a warning, it's not recommended to put anything sugary into the vagina. So don't go putting chocolate sauce on his penis and then insert that into her right after without washing it off first. And if you're adventurous and want to play with, say, inserting a cucumber, put a condom over the cucumber first and then put lubricant on the condom. It'll just be a little easier and better that way. There are many other creative uses for food in the bedroom. The point here is to have some fun adult play, and food can make sex feel more like play and less like work. Number 5, stripping games. One effective way to move from I want to get in the mood, but I'm not there yet and it feels like work for me to get there, to I'm super hot for you now, is to play stripping games. Stripping games come in many forms. You can pretty much turn any 2-player game, such as Skip-Bo, poker, Uno, you name it, into a stripping game. But let me share a few other creative ideas with you. If you have a beach ball or a balloon handy, you can play a modified bedroom volleyball game. You stand on opposite sides of the bed with the bed between you. The object of the game is to keep the ball from falling on your side of the bed on the floor. Meanwhile, you're trying to get the ball on the floor of the other person's side. So if the other person hits it out of bounds, they lose. If you hit it on their side on the floor, they lose, and so on. The loser has to remove an item of clothing. The Intimately Us app has a 2-player game called Battle Strip. It's based on the game Battleship. And that can also be a really fun way to incorporate a stripping game. Another silly one in the Intimately Us app is called Strip Joker. The idea is you take turns telling cringy dad jokes, and if you laugh, you remove an item of clothing. And the app has over 700 of these jokes built in that you can just read to each other. You pass the phone back and forth. Another memorable stripping game that we've done once is where each of us came up with 10 questions about ourselves that we didn't think the other person knew about. I asked questions such as, do you know the name of my 3rd grade teacher? Or the name of the street I lived on when I lived in Hawaii? Can you name my first pet? the name of my first piano teacher, and so on. Anyway, we took turns asking the hard questions, and if their spouse got it wrong, and they usually did, they lost an item of clothing. It was a fun way to spark conversation and also get to know each other better. You can also give each other a fun lap dance and a striptease. And for the record, lap dances and stripteases aren't just for ladies to perform. Guys, you can do this too with great effect. Put a chair in the middle of the room, ask your spouse to sit in it, put on some sexy music, and tease your spouse as you slowly undress. We have an older podcast, episode 21, that walks you through how to do a sexy lap dance if you're interested. We also have a how-to guide in the Intimately Us app with details too. Now, there are plenty of ways to make undressing part of adult play. And anything that's playful can make your sex feel less like work and more like play. And that's the point. Number 6, I'll call bedroom Olympics. This is great, especially if you find yourself to be the competitive sort. Why not introduce some friendly competition? Doesn't that sound like play? One way to add playful, sexy competition is bedroom Olympics. This idea is inspired by something I read off of the Dating Divas blog, which is full of fun and inspiring bedroom games, by the way, if you don't know about it. You prepare a bunch of minute-to-win-it games. Now, a minute-to-win-it game is a game that usually involves a timer, about a minute long, and see who can complete silly tasks in that allotted time. And you can Google minute-to-win-it game ideas or go to YouTube, and you'll find all sorts of ideas and inspiration for your own minute-to-win-it games. One thing that I did for our minute-to-win-it games is I got all of my wife's bras and the clasps in the back, and laid them out in a row on the bed. And while wearing oven mitts on my hands, we competed to see how many bras we could unclasp in 60 seconds. Another thing we did for bedroom Olympics is we put an orange on the floor on one end of the bedroom, and then we tied a string around the end of a banana and the other end of that string around our waist so that the banana dangled between our legs when we'd squat. And using only the dangling banana, we competed to see how far we could roll that orange across the floor in the allotted time. And we came up with a whole bunch of games like this. I don't think we've ever laughed so hard in our life. You can get really creative with this, right? You can see how many grapes your spouse can catch in her mouth as you toss them to her. Or you can see how many push-ups you can do while your spouse tries to distract you in sexually provocative ways. You get the idea. The point is sometimes a little bit of competition makes sexy time feel more like play and less like work. Number 7, let something else suggest what to do. My last suggestion is to let something else suggest what your next sexy move is going to be. See, our brains tend to have this bias against our spouse suggesting something sexy to do, and I don't completely understand why. But sometimes it's difficult to want to do something your spouse wants to try during sex simply because your spouse suggested it. But if that same suggestion came from a neutral place, then it'd be a lot easier to accept it and try it. The Intimately Us app is built on this principle. There are games in the app that suggest your foreplay moves, and all you need to do is follow the prompts. And there are a variety of games in the app to keep things interesting too. My wife and I once bought a new Jenga set. If you're not familiar, Jenga is a game made up of 54 wooden blocks in the shape of a tower. And you take turns removing a block at a time, trying not to make the tower fall. What we did is we got a Jenga game, we got a Sharpie marker, and we wrote on most of the wooden blocks a foreplay move. And then we set up the Jenga game and we played it where you pull out the block and you did the foreplay move that was written on the block. And you tried not to make the tower fall, but when it did fall, well, you knew that it was time to get it on. It was super fun because you didn't know exactly what the next move was going to be as you pulled out each block. It was always suspenseful, always a surprise what it was going to be next. You can accomplish the same idea by writing down foreplay ideas on pieces of paper or on popsicle sticks and putting those in a hat or putting those sticks in a jar. You can randomly pull out a stick and do what's written on it. It's a creative way to let something else do the suggesting. We've created the Sheets and Ladders game, which you can find on sheetsandladders.com. It's a fitted sheet that goes on your king or queen size bed with the board game pre-printed on it. It has many blank spaces and comes with washable markers for you to fill in those blanks. You roll the dice, and whatever foreplay idea you land on, you get to do that play on the bed. It's also a fun way to surprise your spouse by making the bed beforehand without them knowing that the sheets and ladders are on the bed. And it also makes a great birthday, anniversary, Christmas gift, in case you're looking for ideas, hint, hint. Anyway, when you can let something else do the suggesting, it can make sex feel a lot more like play and less like work. Being in a rut in your sexual relationship is never fun. Often, we get into ruts when sex has felt more like work than play. Sometimes being too fixated on an outcome that you hope to get from sex, such as orgasms or conceiving a child, or making sex really about feeding another person's ego, really makes sex feel more like work than play. So by addressing the root causes of why you fell into the rut in the first place, and by making sex more fun and a place of play, you can get out and stay out of a rut. I hope some of these 7 suggestions that I gave you today spark some things that you want to try in the bedroom. If you have other creative ideas that you like to play in the bedroom, I'd love to hear it. Feel free to email them to me or contact me through the website. So now I invite you to put down your phone, make some plans on how you're going to put the play back in foreplay, and go get your marriage on this weekend. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in accelerating growth in your marriage, either sexually, emotionally, or spiritually, I want to invite you to work with me in my affordable coaching program called Next Level. More information about Next Level and my fun and sexy apps for couples are available at getyourmarriageon.com. Please also don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And be sure to tell your married friends. I promise, they will thank you for life. Now go get your marriage on.